Welcome to the Threat Insights Weekly group call. We'll jump right into the agenda. We've got a bunch of accomplishments to highlight. Everyone take a peek at those. I added one topic from previous discussions. So based on our past discussions and that we had agreed that the MR security reports had graduated from planning breakdown, I took Andy's suggestions of the 4 different steps that he thought made sense as far as our MVC epics goes. So you can see that I created 4 epics under that MR security report MVC based on those suggestions. Thank you for that, Andy. Those are great. The goal now is to assign, well, I can't assign epics to people, and this is one of the main reasons I put this on the agenda, is to identify DRIs, one person from the front end and one person from the back end for each epic, and have you guys create those implementation issues. You could just do the basic skeleton of them, and then we will assign them off for refinement like our normal process. So the best way I can think of doing that is to just @mention people in the epic. I know that can create problems of visibility if you're really just looking at what's assigned to you on a board, because again, I can't assign an epic to somebody. I could create an issue under each epic that says create the issues and then assign that to somebody. But if that helps you guys as far as having a board to look at that's tracking the work that you're doing. So thoughts on that, how you guys would like to proceed with this? We're trying to find the right ways to not have just myself or Tiago create implementation issues.
I think we should start with the boring and simple solution of just @mentioning people.
And if anyone gets concerned that they might lose track of that, they can create their own issue or let me know and I can help. Does anyone have any concerns with that? Okay, so today I will be taking, there's since there's 4 backend engineers, I'll probably give 1 to each of the backend engineers, and then as far as the front end goes, 1 person will get 2, and then work with your counterparts on the team, front end, back end, to make sure that it's covered, and then we'll work from there. Because like I said, it's going to go into refinement. It'll follow our normal process. I don't know if I'm expecting, if you guys want to assign them off to individuals for refinement, that's fine. If you want to pick it up yourself for refinement, that's fine as well. I think it's always good to have another pair of eyes on things though. So, if you're the person that's identifying those, if you want to refine them, fine. Have someone else on your team take a look at the issues you've created to make sure it makes sense to them too. So, cool. And thanks again, Andy. I really think that was a great approach from the UX of, here are some like logical buckets of how this could break down and benefit our customer in iterative steps.
For sure.
All right, demos. Savash, you got a couple here. Thank you. Anything you want to highlight or verbalize around them?
It's still work in progress regarding the activity column. Decided to iterate on this. I'll probably create 4 or 5 MRs for this. First step was to move the remediated batch. The second step is to move the issues link. Then I will add the filter. And then if 1 more MR if there's any cleanup or whatever. So yeah, that's it.
Slash, do you know if we're using the GitLab badge component for those?
So we had the remediated badge component. I modified it. I think we're not using that component that you're referring to. I was not aware of that.
Okay.
So maybe I can switch them.
Yeah, those are brand new as of like 1 or 2 milestones ago. They're just a slight color variation.
Yeah, that was a bit. I tried to pick the right color, but okay. I'm gonna check the component, and then create an MR for replacing them.
For sure.
Great. Alexander, you've got the other demo here. Anything you want to share about?
Lindsay.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Since we're sync, got a question for Andy. The horizontal, so we have the created issue next to the vulnerability title. So the one that we used to have and we still have. Shall I remove that as well?
Yeah, because that'll be in that issue badge now.
Okay, perfect.
Was I get that right? The created icon, is this around the issue created display, Subash?
Sorry, Lindsay?
Sorry, I was trying to put a little note about your question in the agenda just for reference. I kind of missed what you said.
Okay, so there is an issue next to the vulnerability title, the one that it's already created.
Right.
We used to link that.
Gotcha.
The question was whether we should move that into the new. So we should just remove that because we now display all the issues.
Great, thank you. All right, Alexander, your favorite MR or your favorite issue?
Favorite issue. I put this into demo or show it off here because I've been working very closely with Subash on this, and I think it's in a pretty stable point at this point. It's up for review again, and I'm running tests, and so I think Subash has helped me get a good direction down with the code. Andy, if you could take a look at it as a UX review, that'd be great. But yeah, exciting. This is getting into a stable state. So that's it.
That's the MR that you asked me to review, right, Alexander?
Yeah.
Perhaps since we worked on this together, maybe Daniel can take a look at it so that it's a like third pair of eyes. Maybe he will have, or yeah, just was a suggestion.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know what Daniel's bandwidth is right now, but I'll ask him. And that'll be good because you're going on vacation all next week anyways, so.
And that's a great reminder. Subash is going to be out next week. So if anyone needs him, talk to him now. All right. We're only allowed to read Matt's item. We can't speak to it, so shh.
We can, just not.
No, this is great information. So thank you around giving us some insights into how to get more information around the UX research process. And I know you guys work really hard on making sure that the requests that you bring to us have been thoroughly researched.
Yeah, so totally optional. Just, I know if you are curious to see what some of the feedback is, it is, I mean, there's a lot. There were, I think, 14 hour-long interview sessions, and I wouldn't bother with the auto transcription. It is hot garbage because it puts text below all the videos automatically, and it makes no sense. So if you want to laugh, that's good. But so Dovetail is the system that the UX research team adopted, I guess, several months ago. And the idea is that it really allows kind of collating all the information from these studies, and then you can pick out snippets of the video, things that people said, and tag them and sort of group them up into insights. So it's really, really helpful. There's a lot of information there. Because of the licensing, it is expensive, but we can get read-only access. So we just need your email address. So that's why you need to ping us and we can add you to it. And we've got the next session, I think we're targeting the 29th. So if you want to sit in live, we'll do, it's usually myself, Andy, and Tali, depending on scheduling. We feel comfortable with one additional person per interview. So if we have a lot of interest, we'll have to kind of spread them out because we don't want one poor person having 8 GitLab folks just staring at them while they talk to us.
Cool. Who doesn't want to have a bunch of people looking at them while they're giving their feedback? All right, we've got 3 items in our planning breakdown list. Start from the top. So this is a performance improvement backend issue. I would like to nominate anyone on the backend team who wants to describe what's going on with this issue.
I think this was mine to begin with. So essentially, at some point, we were investigating if there is anything we could do to improve the computing state of a finding. And the last time I did check if there are like any low-hanging fruits, unfortunately the answer was no. So we need to take a long and hard look at what's the current algorithm for doing that, if there is anything we can do to speed it up. And yeah, I was initially proposed to use advanced database features, which we were in the middle of implementing. So the database team's answer was like, well, we are not sure if you can do procedures and triggers to the database now. So we need to investigate everything, like maybe not from the scratch, but we need to check if the database team would be more comfortable with us using functions or triggers for this.
Okay, so it sounds like there's definitely some refinement that needs to happen, but we're at the planning breakdown step. So thank you for that explanation, Michał. That's great. I want to make sure that we can confirm that we can move this to refinement to have that investigation, you know, be focused on by one person and get an implementation plan and know which direction we're going to go. If that's the same way you've already started, great. If we're going to adjust, then looking at our questions for planning breakdown, this is an engineering driven issue. Are the requirements within the team clear to everybody? What we're trying to solve? Do we have goals or need to set goals around the performance improvements we're trying to achieve?
Yeah.
May I jump?
Please.
Go on.
So the thing is, like, recently I started working on improving the performance of MR security tab by just saving the vulnerabilities, I mean the findings for all the pipelines into the database. The idea behind was actually like being able to calculate the state if it's dismissed or something. I already have an OpenMR and waiting for feedback from the backend team members of the thread insights. So if we actually merge it, then it will be quite easy to calculate the state of the finding, if it's dismissed or not, without having the need of downloading all the artifacts from the repository into the memory. So we can actually calculate this state in the database layer.
Go ahead.
We might actually close this issue when Mehmet's done with his issue.
Actually, probably we will need to introduce more logic to just check if there is a feedback in the database for the finding by just joining to the feedback table. So I would rather prefer to keep the issue open and check if there will be further improvements needed, or we can just close it.
Can you add that to a comment and relate this in the issue, Mehmet?
Yeah, I will.
All right. And this one has been open for a little while, so I know there's some discussion in there.
The only thing that remains unclear to me now is whether this is actually a problem, because when I first discussed it with Wayne and Thomas, we were unsure if this impacts us really badly, if we need like to prioritize this because this impacts us really badly and we have some performance problems with regards to this functionality. And to be honest, I am still not sure if this is a major performance problem, if we need to prioritize that.
Actually, like I was also preparing a dashboard on Kibana to actually check the performance of this security tab, and it's miserable. Like most of the time, timeouts, and this is actually why I have been working on this for a long time. It was taking more than a month actually. So with the changes I introduced, probably we will improve the performance a lot. But I think we need to address this if my changes will not fix the problem.
Okay.
I will also share the dashboard with you in case if you just want to see.
You share it with a larger group, please.
Yeah,
I think
I will add a note.
excellent.
I will add a note here.
Perfect. Or share it in the threat insights room. That might be a little bit broader and helpful. Thank you. I think having a dashboard or metrics to gauge where we're at and how we're improving is crucial here. So thanks. Okay, so based on that, it does feel like we can move this out of planning breakdown. So going back to our questions, you know, the requirements are clear and that we know we have performance problems, and we've been looking into these. And, you know, based on the conversation we had, we're going to leave this open. Dependencies, you know, going through the questions, additional dependencies outside of our team. Are there any that we need to call out as part of this? I know you've been working probably with the database team. No, okay. And then this doesn't, research solution validation doesn't really apply here. Here's a good question. Is this small enough to complete in one iteration, and or should we break this down at all into any additional issues?
Actually, after I merge my MRs, probably we can finish this in just one iteration. Yeah, just cross fingers.
Okay. So this is met all of our planning breakdown criteria. After this call, I will move it into refinement. Mehmet, I'm going to assign this to you because it is dependent on the outcome of this other work that you're describing. Does that sound okay? Okay, excellent. And we have this sub question that I'm trying to ask now whenever we move something out of planning breakdown to refinement is around end-to-end tests. And I don't think that applies for database performance improvements. I'm just calling it out for the group so that you're aware that we did add another question here to our planning breakdown survey. So we can mention our stable counterpart, Will Meeks, early on to let him know that, you know, there'll be some end-to-end testing work coming up. All right. The second issue here is already in Ready for Dev. So I'm not sure if I think that this has progressed into Ready for Dev since it was added to this list. Does anyone have any questions around the non-CVE, CVE column in the export report? All right. And then I'm going to be quiet and let Alexander talk about the last issue because he created it.
Yeah, so as part of the what you'll see in the demo of the custom filters for the scanner, allowing the filter by specific vendors, is that now that we retrieve the filters up front dynamically, we are able to see what filters will actually produce results. So as I mentioned in a previous meeting, Zoom lets you hit the record button, but if you don't actually have permissions, it says, oh, you actually can't do that, but it does it after the fact. Similarly, right now you can filter in the dashboards by a filter that will not produce any results. And there's an empty state that says, hey, your filter didn't produce any results. And this can be annoying. And so there is, this ticket is to implement the ability to disable filters if we know they're not going to produce any results up front. So it won't update dynamically based on, like, you know, say you filter by a severity of high, and then it's not going to disable a scanner if there's no scanners that produce results, so a user can still get to that empty state. But if there's no severity of critical vulnerabilities at all, then that would be disabled. And so again, with the scanner filter, we get this information up front now, and that MR disables scanners that don't produce anything if there's no DAS, no SAST or whatever. But we need to similarly do that for the other filters. So that is by project, by state, and then by severity. Well, this proposes that. And so there'll probably be some back-end work for those queries, and then front-end work to implement that. Does anybody have any questions, comments, critiques?
When do we fetch that information from? So if I understand correctly, we want to know upfront whether filters produce results or not. So are we going to do this when the user clicks on for instance, the scanner filter, and then we do a call to the backend to see if there are results, and then gray out the ones that are not producing any results? Or is that's the issue, right? I understood it correctly.
Yeah, and for that is correct. But for the scanner filter work, this is a GraphQL call that happens immediately when the scanner filter is rendered and instantiated. And so it happens, it saves that data, and then we're able to make decisions off of that. So it will not be on every click of the filter, at least it shouldn't be. It should just be one time when that filter loads, do the thing. So yeah.
Do we reload the filter if we change the state of a vulnerability? I mean, would it update if you say you decide that there's nothing dismissed and then you dismiss a vulnerability? Will you be able to then access the dismissed option after you change that state? Does it reload?
That is a great question. It can. Right. I didn't have to think about that for the scanner filter because you can't switch a DAST vulnerability to a SAST one, but that will be something we need to think about. And it's something I did not think about. So thank you.
I'll add a note to the issue. Other questions? This is a great issue, first of all. My critique is thank you for looking out for our customers' convenience and usability. Awesome.
My question is that if we do filter by a project, then the remaining filters might change as well. So I'm looking at the first screenshot. So if you have like the project filter, if you filter a project, then the availability of status filters might change as well.
Right. And that's a great question. And I think that when you load the page initially, where these filters should, the call should take into account, not take into account any filters that a user is filtered by. It should just be like all the vulnerabilities for all the projects. Is there a high? Is there a low? Is there a detected? Whatever. And if you filter by project, it shouldn't, I think it's out of scope to have them dynamically update the other filters by selecting one filter. And I think it's fine if a user still gets to an empty state in this iteration, maybe in a future one, but
okay.
That seems a little more complicated than a first step.
Okay, if that's out of scope for now, then I am satisfied.
I think it's out of scope, personally. Maybe other people have feelings about that.
So I have a question. So the thing is, like, first of all, like, this is a really nice addition from the point of end user. It definitely improves the user experience. But the thing is, like, it feels like it's a bit complex to be a first step. What about like starting just only with one filter, like maybe just the status filter? Does it create confusion rather than fixing a problem for the end user? I don't know, like, because like status filter will be dynamically changing and the rest will not. So maybe this can introduce confusion, but I don't know.
Yeah, another great question. So it's already being implemented on the scanner filter initially. And I think you ask a great question of like, is this going to be confusing that some of them are disabled, having options disabled and others are not? And I think for the scanner filter, it makes sense because we already show the user a top notification that says, hey, these scanners are not enabled. And so if they're not enabled, then they're not going to show any vulnerabilities. And so it makes sense to also disable them. Whether this adds more confusion if we just do the status or just do severity, I could see that. And I'm not a UX expert. Do we have anyone who works with the product in-depth, or maybe what user experience in-depth here that could talk about that?
It sounds like the behavior extending to all the filters except for the dynamically generated ones is a safe place to go with this. I don't think there'll be too much confusion. There probably will be some clicking around and some questions of like, why are these disabled? But then if I click into like see dismissed and I see none, that would probably be more confusing than any expectation of seeing one or many of those. So as long as like, if I'm going to click something and nothing's there, we should have a consistent experience around that to an extent that we can maintain. And like if it starts bogging down the experience to try to load these dynamic filters and show them disabled, then I would say not do that, right? A good experience is one that loads first and foremost.
Yeah, maybe there's a way to like emphasize that like some of the filters are dynamic. Maybe, I don't know, maybe just changing the font color or making it bold or like putting a, I don't know, like icon or something.
Yeah, the right now for the scanner filter, if a filter is disabled, the contrast is different. So it's sort of a lighter gray that is obviously sort of a disabled state. But then also if you hover over it with your cursor, it has the big like no click disabled icon on it. So it's not just like
there's nothing in the enabled state that tells you that it could be turned off, I think was what was being proposed, right? So you're indicating that it's disabled, but if certain filters are going to be dynamic and certain aren't, I think the suggestion on the table is that you somehow display in the UX that this it's on, but it could be disabled based on what's resulting from your data. That could get a little noisy, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Because the thing is, like, for example, if we are not going to apply this for the severity filter, for example, if I see everything is enabled, but once I click one of them, if I see no results, probably I will open a bug issue saying, hey, this filter is broken. Because I will know that like some of the filters are applying this convention. So if there is no result, they are disabled. This must be disabled as well. So I will open an issue. So this will probably create more confusion.
Well, to change status of anything or affect any dynamic scanner, the page will reload, right? So if we're generating these on page load, then that could be a solution. I think a little more investigation on the mechanics behind this could help. I would hate to just kind of like have a call out, like raising its hand, like, hey, this is a dynamic filter, because we don't really do that anywhere else. But there could be a way to communicate that if we can't get the mechanism to work in our favor.
I guess one thing, not to say we shouldn't go forward, because I really do like this. We're going to add more filters in the near future for this. So keeping in mind the complexity of having to track that, as you know, if we get 4 or 5 things at the top, as you change those filters, you're going to have to change everything dynamically. I just want to make sure we're not doing a premature optimization of the experience? Like, this seems like maybe we wait for things to settle a little bit more in the UI, potentially. It's really cool, but is it going to be worth the effort of the complexity? I'm a little concerned from what I'm hearing.
Okay. Yeah, totally. This is going to be very complex.
So we're at the end of our time. Matt, I'm going to let you decide where to put this from a milestone perspective. I put it in 13.6 after it was created, but that's just temporary. So if you don't mind updating that. Based on this discussion, it does sound like we need more discussion, or do you guys, I mean, to say that it's even through planning breakdown? See thumbs up. I see some nods. Okay, we'll leave this on the agenda and prioritize it based on where it falls in future iterations. Again, it's a great suggestion for improvement, and I encourage everyone to think the way Alexander is. You know, when you see ways that we can improve our customer experience, create issues for them and bring them to the table. And on that note, we're done. I hope everyone has a fantastic Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, friends.